A runaway girl named Sayu offers her body to strangers in exchange for staying at their place. Although a man named Yoshida sees Sayu and lets her stay in his apartment, and all she has to do is the chores. After Sayu got a job, one of her co-workers named Kyuya blackmailed Sayu into going to Yoshida's apartment with her. Although Yoshida wasn't home, Kyuya said if Sayu doesn't take him home with her, he'll tell the other co-workers about Sayu sleeping with people in exchange for letting her stay at their house. Arriving at the apartment, Kyuya starts forcing himself onto Sayu, and Sayu realizes she isn't able to do anything and tells Kyuya he can do whatever with her. That is until Yoshida bursts through the front door in a frantic manner, and after questioning Sayu about her relationship to Kyuya, kicks him out. Yoshida then interrogates Kyuya, who reveals that a few months ago, Sayu stayed at his house. He also claims that although Yoshida is like a caretaker to Sayu, he'll have to be responsible for her schooling, college, etc. So will he continue being her savior, despite the risks? In Yoshida's inner monologue, reflects about his morals by taking in Sayu and in a rebuttal proclaims that he hopes to be the one that teaches her what's right and wrong. Unimpressed by Yoshida's response, Kyuya tries to leave, but Yoshida has him promise to stay away from Sayu. Returning to his apartment, Yoshida and Sayu have a heart-to-heart with each other about Sayu's past and well-being. When Sayu asks why Yoshida does what he does, in his response, Yoshida claims that he wants Sayu to live a normal teenage life. Tearfully, Sayu understands and thanks Yoshida. The following day, Sayu unhappily works at her job. Hence, Asami notices and asks her if something had occurred the previous day involving Kyuya. To that answer, Sayu pretends nothing happened, and because of this, Asami approaches Kyuya in the break room with Sayu in tow and asks him if he did anything to Sayu the day before. Going along with the scenario, Kyuya admits that he asked to have sex with Sayu, who declined. Asami smacks Kyuya in the face and demands that he apologize to Sayu. Kyuya promises to do that right when a customer arrives in the store, and Asami leaves the room to help said person. Once Asami is gone, Kyuya gives a half-hearted apology to Sayu, who asks him why he didn't reveal their past to her, but he recites his promise not to do that. Hearing that makes Sayu laugh and admit that if Kyuya ever would make any inappropriate advances to her again, she'd lose it. Finding the answer a bit humorous and before leaving the room, states how Yoshida treats her like he once did. Around dusk after work, Sayu is notified by Yoshida that he's going to be staying at work late that day. So Asami says that she'll stay with Sayu that day, and Yoshida allows it. Before they head to a special place that Asami wanted to take her, they stop by her parents' house to pick up something, which amazes Sayu because of the house's size and design. Asami reveals that her father is a politician and her mother is a lawyer. The two then walk to their destination, and as they do, Sayu reveals her backstory to Asami. By nightfall, the two reach their destination, which was a perfect spot for stargazing. Then, Asami reveals why she's a gyaru, and her parents' plans for her future, which is against her own dream to become an author. When Asami told her mother her dream, she flipped out on Asami, but her father took her to that very spot they're at and showed her the starry night. They then had a heart-to-heart with each other, and although Asami didn't agree with her father, she still enjoyed her time with him there. Asami then tries to console and motivate Sayu, who appreciates Asami's kind words. The following day, Yoshida arrives home early from work and brings home some food. He also apologizes for not protecting her, but Sayu argues that he did, in fact, protect her. Sayu then explains that no matter where she went, it was all the same, but that changed with Yoshida, and because of it, she wishes to think about the future. In light of that, Yoshida promises to help Sayu to the best of his ability to help her achieve her goal. Elated, Sayu hugs Yoshida and welcomes him home. Once they're alone at the comfort market, Sayu and Asami talk about whether Yoshida will allow Asami to come over or not. Yoshida allows it, however. He notes his opinion of how often she comes over, to which Asami retorts it's summer break, and that she and Sayu are soulmates. Right as Asami was about to stock the store shelves, an unmarked black car pulls up by the store, and its male driver looks inside for a brief bit and drives away. Asami details how the car parks at that particular spot all of the time and drives away, as Sayu looks notably concerned. At Yoshida's apartment, Sayu helps Asami study literature, who finds it a pain to do. A flashback involving Sayu and Yoshida shows them talking a bit about Sayu's plans for the future and her hopes to stay with Yoshida a little longer. Back in the present, Sayu contemplates more about her future, until Asami interrupts her. In a fib as to why she was so lost in thought, Sayu tells Asami that she was thinking about what to make for dinner. Asami compliments Sayu for being such a good housewife-like person and suggests they get a special bento that's sold at the store during exam season. Meanwhile, at the IT company, Yoshida receives a text from who is presumed to be Sayu, and Yuzuha watches in jealousy, noting how she doesn't have Yoshida's number. Just then, Irie approaches Yoshida and asks him a question about some documents that she recently sent him. Again, Yuzuha watches in jealousy as she watches Irie and Yoshida's interaction with each other, and once they separate, Yuzuha confronts Irie at her desk and asks to have lunch with her. Soon afterward, in the cafeteria, Yuzuha questions Irie about what she thinks of Yoshida, which leads to the big question of whether or not she knows about his quote-unquote girlfriend. Talking about Sayu, Irie honestly answers her thoughts and opinions about Yoshida and that she's aware of Sayu, although saying it's not his girlfriend. Yuzuha then asks another big question, whether or not she'd be upset if Yoshida chose Sayu over her. To that, Irie answers no, because if Yoshida chose Sayu over her, she wouldn't want to interfere and become Yoshida's girlfriend unnaturally using tricks. But Yuzuha argues that Irie is merely scared. Her reason being is that even if Irie worked hard for what she wanted, she'd lose it one day, so it'd be best to patiently wait for a good opportunity. Perplexed by this conversation, Irie tries to reason with Yuzuha, who then goes on a mini rant about her fear of losing. She's then stopped by Irie making her notice that she's caused a scene. Continuing to answer Yuzuha's question, she states that it's best to wait for Yoshida to decide whom he'll start a relationship with. Yuzuha then bluntly asks if Irie loves Yoshida, and she confesses that she does, however. Anything she'd do wouldn't matter. Put off by Irie's answer, Yuzuha asks what's wrong with her, but Irie responds by calling Yuzuha cute. Late that afternoon, just as Yoshida leaves work and gets a text from Sayu about dinner, Yuzuha approaches Yoshida and asks him if he wants to see a movie. However, Yoshida refuses as he details Sayu has made something special for dinner. Although sad about his refusal, Yuzuha then insists that Yoshida give her his contact information and demands his phone for the exchange process. Yoshida speaks in a condescending manner about himself involving texting people, saying she has nothing to talk about with him. On the other hand, Yuzuha interprets the answer as Yoshida not considering himself to be attractive enough to give his contact info away unless there's someone special. To that, Yoshida confirms it, and Yuzuha goes on a mini rant on how it's unfair that Yoshida decides everything on his own standards. This leads to Yuzuha confessing her love for Yoshida, only to backtrack that her love for him is only a little. After that is all settled with, they finally exchange their contact info, and immediately Yuzuha sends Yoshida a text, asking him out to see a movie sometime. In response to the text, Yoshida sends a text saying, sure. Amused by Yoshida's response, she notes how childish he can be, but states before leaving that it's something she likes about him. Later that night at Yoshida's apartment, Yoshida learns that the special dinner is really some katsudon. Sayu reveals that she got it from her work by Asami's suggestion, and states how the food is popular around exam periods because of its association with winning. As they eat, Yoshida asks what he is supposed to be winning, and Sayu says it should be himself, as people typically are their own worst enemy. In Yoshida's inner monologue, he reflects how he's his own worst enemy, and how he's made a lot of choices to help Sayu, but considers it doing the things he wanted to do. Sayu curiously asks if Yoshida is unhappy with their meal, and he responds that he isn't, but states how weird it is to eat katsudon in the summer. The following day, Sayu does her daily chores around the house, and Yoshida decides to help out. However, Sayu drags Yoshida onto his bed and proclaims that the chores around the house are her job. Although Yoshida insists that he helps out a little, Sayu refuses any help and tries to push him back onto his bed, causing the two to fall on each other. After this scene, Yoshida follows Sayu's advice to take a shower. During Yoshida's shower, Sayu finds a box in his closet and asks if it's all right to look into it, and Yoshida allows her to do it. Inside the box is a note from his mother and his high school graduation album. Browsing through it, Sayu finds a picture of a young Yoshida with a young girl. Yoshida finishes his shower and talks about the girl in the picture as someone who was the senior everyone admired, and recalls how the girl called him clingy. Apparently, Yoshida was in a relationship with her in high school, and it's said that he spent a lot of time with her because he thought it was natural. Eventually, at the comfort market, Sayu works by the counter with Kyuya, and the car that stalks the store stops by again. Seeing Sayu completely distraught by the car and the backseat passenger exiting it, Kyuya has Sayu retreat into the back room, The car passenger then enters the store and hands Kiyoya his business card, revealing his name as Kazuto Ojiwara, CEO of Ojiwara Foods. Kazuto asks a couple of questions involving Sayu and the manager of the store. However, Kiyoya brushes them off, while Sayu explains to Asami about her relationship with the man. Kiyoya then enters the back room to inform the two that the coast is clear, but warns that Sayu may not be able to keep him at bay for much longer. Sayu realizes this, however. She thinks that now is not the time. Walking home from work, Sayu thinks now that her brother is trying to find her, she has to go home. A text message from Yoshida reveals that he's going to be home late from work, and this makes Sayu sigh. Eventually, while intending to go on a shopping trip, Sayu bumps into Yuzuha, and they talk. Soon, Sayu spots her brother accompanied by his chauffeur, and hides behind Yuzuha in a panic. After being told about Sayu's situation, Yuzuha takes Sayu to a karaoke bar, and they enjoy some drinks together. Sayu then was going to text Yoshida about her situation, but was uncertain what to write. So Yuzuha advises her to simply tell it all to him straight about her situation. Still though, Sayu is hesitant. So Yuzuha texts Yoshida their location, and invites him over if he wants to join them later. Meanwhile, at the IT company, Yoshida finally finishes his work, and Hashimoto suggests he head home to see Sayu. However, Yoshida is perplexed by the text that he gets from Sayu that she's having a good time. From there, both Sayu and Yuzuha have a heart-to-heart about the person searching for Sayu. Yuzuha immediately asks if Sayu is running away from a crime, but she denies that notion, not wanting to press Sayu for any more specifics. But Yuzuha repeats what Kiyoya once stated, that she doesn't have much time left. Sayu understands this, however. Yuzuha then asks why she's out shopping, and Sayu answers that she's simply fulfilling one of the conditions for living at Yoshida's apartment. In light of that, Yuzuha claims how the two are psychologically connected with each other, and how would Sayu feel if she was torn apart from him. Giving no response to Yuzuha's question, Yuzuha inquires what Sayu's relationship is with Yoshida, whether it be a guy that's helping him, or are they in love. Sayu then tries to deny one of the two. Yuzuha backtracks and apologizes for her curt comments. She then advises Sayu that she should seriously consider what she wants to do now. At that moment, Yoshida arrives and decides to take Sayu home, but extends an invitation to Yuzuha to join them. However, she declines. Before leaving, Yoshida promises to take Yuzuha out for a movie and leaves. Once Yoshida is gone, Yuzuha has a tearful meltdown, lamenting over how Yoshida does not look at her the same way as he does Sayu, and how he doesn't reciprocate her love for him. While walking home, Sayu asks if there's anything Yoshida would like to do, but he doesn't have a clue. They then spot a poster for the summer festival that's set to start the following day. After talking it over with Sayu, it's decided that they'll go. The following night, the two head to the summer festival, and before they arrive, Sayu notices that Yoshida is hesitant to look at her because of the yukata she's wearing. Hence, Sayu forces Yoshida to check her yukata out, and he simply calls it pretty. This causes a bit of a scene between the two. But when a couple of kids run by, one with cotton candy, and Yoshida buys some for Sayu. While Sayu enjoys the cotton candy, she tells Yoshida about how good it is, and then shares some with him. Just then, a young boy bumps into Sayu, and she nearly trips, but Yoshida grabs her arm, preventing her from falling. Although hesitant to continue holding Sayu's hand, she insists they continue so they don't get lost. Soon after, they watch the fireworks go off, and Yoshida's inner monologue reveals that he'd never gone to the festival had it not been for Sayu. He reflects on his life at his apartment without Sayu, but when he snaps out of it, he realizes that Sayu is gone. After crying out for her, Sayu appears behind him, saying she told him that she was going to throw away some trash. They then continue watching the fireworks and hold hands doing so. Sayu also asks if Yoshida thought that she disappeared, and he confesses that was the case, to which Sayu apologizes. Yoshida then asks if Sayu plans on returning home, but immediately retracts the question, telling her to forget about it. Once the fireworks are finished, Sayu claims that out of all of the men she has stayed with, he's the only one she gave her real name to. After a heart-to-heart with each other, Yoshida and Sayu return home together. The following day, Sayu's older brother Issa makes an appearance at Yoshida's apartment, claiming he's there to take Sayu home. What will happen to Sayu? Subscribe for more anime recaps just like this.